Hello to all cinema fans. This is Film Anatomy, and we want to share the pleasure of watching the movie with you. Before we start the review, if you want more updates on our videos, subscribe to our channel. Today we are going to talk about a German movie that is nominated for Academy Award in 2023. The movie, All Quiet on the Western Front, is directed by Edward Berger. Edward Berger wrote the script with Ian Stokell and Leslie Patterson. Actually, the movie is adapted from the famous novel by Erich Maria Remarque, written in 1929. He inspired the story from his personal experience at the time he served in the German army during World War I. Let me also tell you that All Quiet on the Western Front has two classic versions. The former was directed by Louis Milestone in 1930, which won the Oscar for Best Director and Best Picture, and the latter was directed by Delbert Mann. The former is more famous in the history of cinema. And the movie itself. In the spring of 1917, 3 years into World War I, Paul Baumer, 17 years old, having forged the signature of his parents, and his friends Albert, Franz and Ludwig enlist in the German army. Before being sent to the battlefield, they listen to a patriotic speech by one of the school officials. He gives a passionate speech, which stirs up the children's pure emotions and gets them excited. After the speech, the children receive unknowingly uniforms from soldiers who were killed in the war. Their unit is deployed in France. Then, they are befriended by an old experienced soldier named Kat. From the visual point of view, the movie is very close to the examples made in recent years. Movies like 1917 and Jojo Rabbit. Of course, compared to the movie 1917, it lacks a heroic and courageous perspective. This is because it is trying to clearly show that the military leader's manipulation of the nationalist and patriotic feelings of the young generation. Later, when Paul Baumer and his friends arrive at the battlefield, their romantic view and preconceptions of the war is crumbled by the realities of the trench warfare on the Western Front. The director, Edward Berger, tries to clearly and openly provide his anti-war perspective by developing the narrative of the soldiers and commanders. As the movie tries to portray the heaps of corpses of the dead soldiers, and then when their clothes are taken off and prepared for new soldiers, a disgusting cycle of death for death is formed. But on the other side, war commanders eat well, dress well, rest well. But in an obvious and disturbing negligence, they don't care about the soldiers who have to fight hunger, cold and disease to survive. But, along with its anti-war view, the movie creates unique and humane moments at the heart of the war. Of course, this is where the film's winning card is. That is the place where inside of the brutality of war, it creates moments in which the sense and flow of life can be found. For example, where it opens with the morning dawn and cuts to a fox feeding her cubs. Other examples also can be seen in the movie. For example, Albert meets a girl, he takes her scarf and passes it from soldier to soldier among his friends. When they smell that scarf, they get a sense of life. The sense of life in a difficult and intricate situation. And smelling the girl's scarf turns into a meaningful motif. What is the motif? Motifs are meaningful structures recurred several times in a movie by the filmmaker to convey a conception to its audiences. By sniffing the girl's scarf, the soldiers set the dark atmosphere of war apart from the life and the meaning of life. At the same time, the movie tries to show the harsh and inhumane, even primitive reality of war by portraying the naked violence of war, in medium and sometimes close shots, with cool coloring shots. For example, on the morning of November 10th, Ferdinand Foch, the supreme commander of the Allied forces, gives the Germans 72 hours to accept the Allied terms. During this time, following a hand-to-hand combat full of violence, the Germans occupy the front line of France. But, they are surprised by a counterattack. What is that counterattack? Counterattack with combined arms, such as the famous St. Camion tanks, planes and flamethrowers. This is where the movie shows the other side of the war and takes the violence to the point where it shows us the crushing of the German soldiers under the tanks. And all these acts of violence happen while it is just a few hours from the ceasefire. The movie's title, All Quiet on the Western Front, is taken from the ending of Maria Remarque's book, where the author says, "On the day the armistice was signed, only one report was broadcast: all quiet on the Western Front." In fact, millions of people were killed for a futile war, for the front line to move a few hundred meters. The film is considered to be one of the leading examples of technical and visual achievements in recent years. And if you are interested in war cinema and World War history, we recommend you to watch the movie. Before you watch this movie, I definitely recommend you to watch the classic version of Louis Maystone in 1930, so that you can get a better grasp of the twists and turns of the story. If you liked this video, make sure to like it so that other movie fans can see it. Leave us a comments and introduce our channel to others. Bye till next video.